Welcome to the CTAS 2026 Update 1 video. My name is Mark Albrado. I'm with the Government Information Division of the Office of the State Auditor, and I will be today's presenter. Today we'll be looking at a CTAS 2026 paid leave bug fix. A reminder, post any unposted payrolls prior to updating to CTAS 2026 Update 1. Minnesota paid leave additions, and other known issues. Corrections tab. A bug was introduced in CTAS 2026 that may have affected posted payrolls that have paid family medical leave calculations. Data in posted payrolls may have changed after posting. CTAS was only saving the employee premium amounts and not the employer premium amounts. This means CTAS needed to recalculate the employer amounts based on the current data in the admin employee sections. If a change was made to the employer size in the admin tab, or a change to the employee data, enable, disable, paid family medical leave, or employee-employer percentage split, the employer amounts would be recalculated based on the new variables and therefore could change even though the payroll had been posted. This could affect paid family medical leave premiums, net pay, and tax information for every person on every payroll until you update to CTAS 2026 Update 1. A Corrections F9 tab was created to correct this issue. In posted payrolls with a check date of 2026, the Correction F9 tab will appear. It will not appear on unposted payrolls or payrolls that get posted in CTAS 2026 Update 1. Let's review how this will work in CTAS. With your CTAS program open, go to the Payroll tab, Payroll icon. In the Payroll Period List tab, change the first search by date to January 1st of 2026. Then select the Search button. This will bring up all prior posted payrolls. Open the first posted payroll in the CTAS program. With a payroll open, double left-click on an employee name to look at the employee record in the payroll. Notice you will see the Correction tab F9. Left-click on the Correction tab. The Correction tab has two sections. The first section lists the PFML premium amounts, employee, employer, required, and employer additional amounts, and the net pay. These values are listed based on the data, employer size, PFML enabled disabled, and employee-employer percentage split as it appears in the bottom section. If you make changes to the bottom section, the amounts on the top section will change. The goal of this tab is to change the variables on the bottom of the tab back to the original values at the time the payroll was posted, if they have changed since then. This data will then be permanently saved to the database, correcting the bug for past payrolls. To aid in this process, we have attempted to pre-fill the Correction tab the best we could with what data may have been when the payroll was run. The pre-filled data should be correct in most situations, but there are some situations that we were unable to account for. I will read through the instructions and then we'll look at a couple examples of how to make an edit. Step 1. Compare the net pay amount listed here to the original pay stub. If they match, check the employer required amount. If the amount listed here doesn't match the pay stub, change the employer size in the next section until the employer required amount matches the pay stub. Finally, double-check the employee amount and the employer additional amount listed here to match the pay stub. Step 2. If the net pay amount listed here doesn't match the original pay stub, check the employee and employer additional amounts listed here compared to the pay stub. If the pay stub has 0 for both amounts, change the employer size in the next section to none or uncheck the Enable PFML checkbox. If the amounts don't match the pay stub, adjust the employee-employer percentage split in the next section until the employee and employer additional amounts are correct. Check the employer required amount listed here compared to the pay stub. If that doesn't match, change the employer size in the next section until the employer required amount matches the pay stub. Step 3. Once the information in the section below has been corrected, click Save. If no changes were needed, you may simply click Close. Let's look at an example of how to compare an original pay stub to the information in the Correction tab. To the right of the Correction tab, I have an original payroll stub from the originally created payroll in January of 2026. What I'm going to compare is the net pay from the pay stub to the net pay in the Correction tab. Notice that these two net pays match. If you look under the employer contributions, this user was actually in CTAS 2025. They didn't update in time. So PFML was not even enabled in this. So there is no withholdings for the employee or the employer portion of the premium. If we go back to the Correction tab, we will notice that the employee amount and employer amounts are 0. In this instance, the Correction tab is correct. There would be no edits needed. You can simply click Close. Let's look at another pay stub now where we know a correction will be needed. In this example, from a different payroll in January of 2026, notice that the net pay amount here does not match the net pay amount in the Correction tab. As we can see under the employer contribution, there was no paid family medical leave for an employer contribution, but yet it is showing an employee amount and an employer amount being withheld in this payroll. This pay stub was from an entity that was still on CTAS 2025 and hadn't updated to 2026, so there was no option to withhold the paid family medical leave. So we know in this instance, for our edit, they should not be having the normal employer size selected. We would select none on this one and select Save. You'll receive a pop-up message by selecting yes. You are confirming that the edits made in the Correction tab are correct. I am going to say yes. The payroll details were saved successfully. If you didn't make changes to the Account Distribution tab, click No below. If you did make changes to the account distribution, it will not update the coding in the posted disbursement. Would you like to update the account distribution in payroll only? We select No. The record was updated. When we compare it to the pay stub, we will notice that the net pay matches and there are no deductions for the employee or any employer portions for paid family medical leave. Let's look at one more example. In this example, again, we're going to compare the original copy of a printed pay stub from a January payroll to the Correction tab. Notice in this one, though, we have a lot more going on. Net pay does not match the net pay in the Correction tab. And also, we have PFML requiring additional amounts. The required is not matching the Correction tab. And we also have an employee deduction that's not matching the Correction tab. So first off, we're looking for a total amount of $10.56 for the paid family medical leave. So we can assume that the size of the employer is incorrect. So we're going to select small. Notice that after I made the change to small, the employer amounts are the 1056, but if we compare it to the original pay stub, the employer required amount should only be 352 and the employee should have 704. So in this one, we also have to make a change to the percentage. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to 50%. In this example, we had some ideas of what to change, but if you don't know what to change, the steps in the box will guide you through, or the instructions contain a flow chart. I can now verify that my employee amount is 704. The employer required is 352, which did match our original pay stub. So I'm going to go ahead and select yes, that the correction tab is correct. The payroll will be saved successfully when I select OK. We're not going to make a change to the account distribution, so here I would simply select no, close the record, and then remember you would verify your original pay stubs for every employee for the payrolls that were entered prior to CTAS 2026 Update 1. There are also a few additions to the paid leave section in a created payroll. Minnesota Paid Family Medical Leave additions. Employer PFML adjustment boxes, and a new PFML account distribution report. Let's look at these in CTAS. In CTAS, once you create your first or any payroll in 2026 Update 1, if you look at where you enter hours or in the payroll check information box, I'm going to go ahead and enter some hours for an employee, but now I am going to go to the Employer Share tab on top. You're going to notice adjustment boxes under the Paid Family Medical Leave Premiums heading. So we have an adjustment box for the employer required and the employer additional. If you were not using the paid family medical leave or didn't update right away, you may have to make adjustment to these boxes, and you can put in positive or negative numbers here and go ahead and hit save. If you do not need to make an adjustment, again, you don't use the adjustment boxes, but now the adjustment boxes are available if you need to make adjustments, which included prior payrolls. If there are any adjustments from prior payrolls that need to be made, you can now use the adjustment boxes. A new Paid Family Medical Leave Account Distribution Report has been added to CTAS. To view this report, select the Reports tab on top and the Payroll Year-to-Date icon. In your report name list, you will now see a Paid Family Medical Leave Account Distribution Report. You can double left click on the report name or highlight the name and select Run in the lower left-hand corner. This report works very similar to the PARA report and the Federal Tax Account Distribution Report, where you get to choose your start and end dates. For this example, we will just be looking at the month of January. Notice in this report on the left-hand side, you will have your account coding, and then you'll have columns for the employee share, required employer share, and additional employer share, along with totals at the bottom. Other known issues corrected. The 941-944 report, we're not including the paid family medical leave employer additional premium contribution as income. These reports have been corrected. The federal taxes account distribution report was creating large rounding amounts when there is a PFML employer additional amount. This has also been corrected. And there was also an incorrect message displaying when voiding a receipt in the current fiscal year of CTAS. The message has now been corrected to display the correct verbiage. Thank you for viewing the CTAS 2026 Update 1 video. At the bottom of the slide, we'll see the web address to the Office of the State Auditor's website, along with the web address for the CTAS webpage, along with the CTAS email and phone number. If you have any questions, feel free to contact our office.